Good evening. Now, we normally don't do revenge posting at the quantity, but tonight I'm going there. Our producer Sean Key and I were at SpaceCon today, and we're going to have all the details. Northwood Space secures both a 100 million Series B and a 50 million Space Force deal. I don't know if it was the same day, but that's pretty darn good. There's this company in the EU called Autophage Rocket Concepts. They won a prize in the EU for a debris-free launch tech demonstration. Will the planets align for Elon Musk's IPO? We'll find out. And UARC's Space emerges as an EU powerhouse. All this. And our returning guest, space policy expert, Aaron Oesterle. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. As you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do? We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and efficacy. Now, our pitch events and our world-class boot camps and a lot of other things we do fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. Remember, the center is a 501c3 nonprofit, so just go to our website, cscf.space/support, click that donate button, and drop something in the tip jar. Thanks so much for all your help. Now, my oldest space friend in the whole damn universe, Michael Lane, is also here. Michael, come on in, man.
Hey, how's things?
There he is. How you feeling? You better? You had a cold last time.
You know, I said I was at 40% a few hours ago. I took a nap. The cough is less than it was, so call that progress. Tuesday was awful.
Yeah.
Tuesday was awful. But yeah, I'm getting better. So
yeah, you popping the vitamin D, you popping the C.
I have so many things. Yeah. I ate every orange in the house. That was on Monday when I was like, I'm in trouble. And I ate 4 oranges because it was the only thing I had. So Sean's recommending vodka. I'm not a big vodka guy, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I knew a guy he's going to get one of those things that guys my age get every 10 years.
Right.
And, and he was getting ready to go. He's purging himself, and the doc told him, you can only drink clear liquids and stuff like that. He calls me and he says, Tom, do you know Scotch is a clear liquid? I haven't seen him in years. He's probably dead now. The guy was hopeless. Media guy I know from way back.
That's a memorable line.
That's a memorable line, isn't it? Hey, okay,
right?
Whatever works for you, man. Just don't tell the doc.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, we have quite a night this evening. I'm hoping to see some of our favorite players come in. They haven't come in yet, but we'll see who drops by. I know that Sean was telling me we got between 300 and 400 people now following us on regularly on Spotify and Apple and all those places. So we are growing.
That's great. Love hearing that. Love hearing from our community.
I guess what happens is one of these days is probably all going to happen. Hey, Joe Prestritto, he's here. Hey, Joe. What's going to happen? Someday we'll do some kind of controversial thing to tweak people just the right way, and it'll go viral. And then, so that's why the guys. I remember guys like Steve Martin in the early days. He said, "Yeah, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success."
Right.
And that may be exactly what happens. Someone doesn't take 10 years. Like maybe one. but that would be better. But
yeah, no, we're up to what 70 shows now. We've been at it for over a year. We've been consistent. I mean, we're following the whole the formula. So, but you know, we talk about stuff that is boring to 99% of the people. Like our 1%, the space nerds that love this stuff.
Right.
You know, we know what we're doing. We know our content. We know our audience. It might be mighty, you know, small, but it is mighty. And I don't really care if we ever go viral. I think when stuff pops for you or stuff pops for me in our day jobs, I think that's going to be newsworthy.
That's going to be a huge thing. I think, but I think that with we're doing this. I mean, it's not a hobby. You know, we're trying to do something here.
It's not.
And even our
it really is.
Niche could represent, you know, 100,000 or 200,000 people somewhere. They just haven't found us yet.
Yeah. Well, we know that this show has had a few pops when you know, when you're the former NASA administrator and you thumb up our posts, we get 20,000 views on that one. So we know that we've got some stuff that's interesting to some people. He's you know, we have an interesting community built here, and I love it. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, let's go to the revenge post. Here is what happened. I mean, you guys, a lot of you guys know about this.
Right.
More than a few years ago, and it's still in the news. That's why this news article is only 3 days old. Even the most recent events in it happened almost a year ago. I talked with one of the guys about that today, even at SpaceCon. But Michael Mann sued Mark Stein and sued commentators Mark Stein and Rand Simberg. They had written, you know, way back, written blog posts about it. National Review and CEI respectively hosted the posts, and he sued all of them. And he originally
we lost Tom. I'm going to give him a second to come back because I'm not sure where he went. There we go.
Again already. I can't believe this. I know. A couple, you know, about a week ago, this happened like 6 times in a single night.
Yeah.
I really don't know what's going on there. But anyway, all the ClimateGate emails, all that other stuff, he's trying to sue. You know, man was trying to sue everybody, you know, to try to rehabilitate his reputation. I talked too fast today. And it didn't work, but he still won the initial contest. And I guess some kind of appeal happened, and the judge in the appeals process just went off on Mann, who got all over him, you know, because he was like grossly overstating the damage to himself,
right,
by a factor of about 100, and it was found out, and so it all went back into court, and so he reversed the original ruling, and then awarded like $500,000 be paid to National Review alone. And I don't know what deal was made, you know, with Rand Simberg.
Simberg, yeah. I was going to ask. You don't know that?
Mention it because, you know, Rand has his own little quirkiness. You know Rand, right?
I know. Yeah.
He's one of us. Damn it,
yeah.
He's our guy. And you know, when an injustice is finally reversed, that's a great thing to crow about. It may go on to another final decision somewhere. But it's like I said, it's finally ready for appeal, and everybody was talking about this, even in the article, like, hey, maybe we're finally seeing the end of Michael Mann. We're all going, okay, that works for me. You know, he's the guy that tried to make the medieval warming period go away.
Right.
You know,
weird.
Okay. So I thought that was a fun thing to look at and say, oh God, karma does actually happen sometimes. And it's really good. And one of our own is getting the justice he deserves. And that's great. Now here's what I want to do next up, because
I hope for the best for Simberg, because that guy is solid. Quirky but solid, right? He's our kind of quirky. So
yeah, he is. He is. Now Sean and I went to SpaceCom today.
And the funny thing is I thought that's where you were leading when you're like revenge posts, because I know you don't have a stellar opinion of SpaceCom. So I thought that's where you were going with the.
I know a couple of people who run it, and I'm not really impressed with the things they do, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not the head guy; he seems to be okay, but a couple of other people involved.
Mm-hmm.
One of whom, I mean that guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but that guy also 2 years ago at ISDC when I was doing that big panel, he wanted to ask a question. He pretended to want to ask a question at the very end of it, and then he tried to hijack the rest of the time to talk about his own shit.
Nice.
I had to shut him down. I said, no, this is my table. I paid for it. You can find your own. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, it's just
it's fine
to deal with that guy. And I've been to a couple more of those. I mean, I went to them a couple of times when they were still in Houston, because they just moved to Orlando, I don't know, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I haven't really been to one, since then. This one has started out a little bit weird. Sean, you want to join us here? You want to come in on the camera and join us for this segment, because you were there too, and we both saw different things. We have a lot to talk about. Yeah, good. So the first day, Sean didn't see the first day. The first day, it was it wasn't really the SpaceCom part. It was other kinds of communication, rapid responsiveness or something. It was mostly military stuff, defense.
That would be interesting to me.
Right. So if you work for the War Department, if you work for NASA, if you work for one of their contractors on Wednesday, you had a great day on Wednesday. Anybody who's in the entrepreneurial sector, probably not so much.
Okay.
They're not looking for little guys to try to boost up or anything or do anything with. Now the real deal started happening today, and there's some interesting stuff in the showroom. We have all the folks out there displaying their wares. Well, the thing is, so it reminded me that the flavor of it, the vibe of it reminded me of like a mini version of the satellite conference.
Oh, all right.
That I go to every year. So it's almost like hours of kind of going, what am I doing here? And then punctuated by moments of really interesting, happy shit. That was kind of what it was like yesterday. Today was a lot better because we finally got some good content that mattered to us, people like us.
Right.
Sean, why don't you lead off on that? Tell us what you saw.
Well, I went to the down mask. Of course, I'm the down mask guy,
right.
And I wanted to sit through that. Dallas Bienhoff was sitting behind me.
Right.
Hey, Dallas. And then Richard Godwin was over in the corner.
Cool.
And Dallas asked a question. Richard asked a question. Then my big mouth got up at the end. I said, well, I'm the producer of the Unknown Quantity podcast, and we host a show where we ask our guests a question at the end of it. Dallas has been on there. Richard's been on there. So, and we talk about what's your 5-year projection, what's your 25-year projection for space. But in this case, what's your 5-year projection and your 25-year projection for down mass? And the quote at the end is what caught my attention. I forgot his name. I got it here. It was, I didn't have the card. I wasn't expecting to come on air. But anyway, he said they want to get to the point where they're bringing down 500 kilograms of regolith per load for down mass.
Okay, 500 kilos. Cool.
Yeah, per load for down mass, which is the size of a back of a pickup truck. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, we need to talk.
Okay.
We need to talk. We got a discussion to have here. So he's agreed to the idea of coming on the show.
Okay.
And I got his business card, and maybe I'll get him to talk to you. And like he said, when I walked in, and then after that, I met with Dr. Schultzman. She wanted to ask me a question about something I was working on that I write about a lot, which is the tier method. And I explained to her it's about evaluating emerging technologies' intrinsic risk, that it can be done. Don't let anybody tell you it can't. And then, I mean, mine might not be the best method in the world, but don't ever let somebody tell you that it can't be done. You can do it. You just got to set up a framework. And then I went into the floor, and some really cool stuff back there, because, you know, it's almost like an industrial convention now.
Yeah.
I mean, because you had connectors, you had seals, you had printers, 3D printers, you had laser cutters. You know, they also had your simulation training systems. You had your space weather, not space weather, but you had other observation companies. You had robots, lots of robots.
Yeah, right.
You know, professional robots. You had the kids with the robots, which we do have a video to share. Don't mean to steal your thunder. So
No,
it was
go ahead.
Cool. There was.
I got more thunder. Trust me.
Yeah, you had the Space Force out there, and I got to talk to those guys. You know, my son's involved with the Air Force, so he's involved with them a little bit. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay, all right, yeah, that part was a lot of fun, and we also saw a bunch of other things today. I saw the NASA segment panel discussion just about Artemis, how Artemis is going to go, and they showed all their propaganda films basically, and they're done very exciting.
Yeah.
The one thing I will not, but it shows, it was sort of, in a way it was depressing because they're showing all the shit that none of us want. You know, you show, there's the $4 billion Artemis, yes, are going up, you know, and then they show Gateway, and this is an interesting thing. They didn't mention the EU's a part of this.
Okay, all right.
At first place, they're still acting like it's theirs.
Okay.
And then they also said, "Oh no, it has a new feature now. It can change orbits."
Oh.
Now, gee, why would they need to add that feature? Do you think? Do I hear relevance?
Yeah, I'm like, that's a big change.
You think? And they just said it out loud like a throwaway line, and no one would notice it.
Huh.
Now, the good news, there were 5 guys in this panel, right?
Yeah.
Only 2 of them were government employees.
Okay.
There was a guy from SpaceX. There was a guy from Blue Origin. There's another guy from some company that begins with an H, whose name I forgot. They're building a robot hopper to hop around the moon and get data. And it's like run by steam or compressed gas.
I heard a little bit about. Okay.
Begins with an H. 5 letters begins with an H. Why did I forget it so soon? I had nothing to do notes on. My brain is going quickly. I forget to take notes. But yeah, they all talked about the stuff they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it. And again, you know, the graphics are beautiful, you know, showing, you know, the blue lander, you know, and the ladder, and or they have a stairway. Yeah. Elon's lander has a crane. You have to let
elevator. They won't use the word elevator, but it's an elevator.
It's an elevator. You know, but you're hanging there. I hope something happens to it, and you have to be hanging halfway between the hatch and the moon. You know, but so at least on the Blue Moon thing, the bigger version, there's actually an actual stairway that folds out.
Okay,
and you just walk down the stairs.
Yeah,
you know, that would be cool too. But both of these things will, you know, seat 4, and they has all the amenities, and but they wouldn't even hint which one will get the first shot at it.
No, they wouldn't. Was that
they were very politic about that?
Oh, they were. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But the other thing that made my day was I went into this because there was in the afternoon, the second session in the afternoon. It was either another more NASA propaganda or see this thing about regional structures of funding things, and I didn't know what that was about. Okay. I thought, I'll see what's there. What are they talking about? Well, there are 3 people there. One of them was the moderator. The moderator and this other woman named Kathleen Loftuck or something. They're both from the Texas Space Commission.
Well, convenient.
And the other guy is Bob Long, the head of Space Florida.
Oh, also convenient.
the two people I really would love to meet and talk to were in the same room at the same time, and I got everything we wanted.
Excellent.
It's like, because there's not enough of a sense of community, in the community in Florida. And he basically said, well, it depends on which community you talk to, because there's three of them. There's three separate little patches of community, and one's near Orlando and one's closer to the Cape. There's another one in South Florida somewhere. And they have completely different efforts. They do completely different things. They have completely different needs, especially for like funding. And so, those three, they won't really talk to each other much. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but we're going to have him on the show.
Okay.
And he's happy to explain himself.
Great.
And because he'd fielded the question easily. Boom. Oh, well, here's the problem. Like, okay, he actually looked it up and knew something about this.
Okay. All right.
So he's heard that from somewhere before. But the weird part, I talked to this Kathy woman. She remembers me.
Good.
From somewhere. I don't know what that was all about. I think I had some correspondence with her early in the application process.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's the one I was writing to. And she's seen me do other things and said, hey, good to see you. How you doing? I didn't get a grant, but other than that, I'm great. But but they made the announcement.
Yeah. Cool. And what's your name?
They made the announcement that the next tranche of money is coming in. That we've talked about.
Okay.
Yep. Formally announced it today.
And
so I could give her a hint. Yeah, we're going to apply it. Then we're going to add new facilities. We're going to add new features. We're going to add new people, and probably add a zero. So, but I also told her Dennis Stone was involved. She knows Dennis by reputation very, very well. Oh, good. That sounds great. And so,
great.
They're all happy.
Outstanding. I'd love to see that. For the record, that we always say, we are headquartered in Texas. That's
our feet are firmly planted there now, no matter what.
The center's been there for 10 years, 9 years.
Yeah. 2015, we put that in.
2015
in Texas. So 10 years, 11, almost 11.
All right.
Yeah.
So
okay,
let's go get that. Let's go win it.
Sean, anything else you want to add? You want to play that little video?
Yeah, we can do that video.
You had it queued up.
Yeah. Give me a second here. So I'll let you introduce it. It was the video you sent me.
Oh yeah, I was just you have to blame the photographer for this one. But these are the people that do a K through 12 training program in robotics for kids. And the farther up the grade ladder you go, you get more sophisticated stuff to do. The stuff she's showing you is built by like 8 and 9 year olds.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
All right, young lady, what is your name again?
My name is Basil.
Hi. Hey. Hi. And you represent these guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
So every year we get a different theme / challenge, and so this is our 2024 robot.
Okay.
Basically, the goal was to pick up these circular rings, which were called nodes, into the robot. So.
Well, maybe not.
modern tech. It's great. I mean, it's
we're
great.
Gonna have
audio,
to get those. We're going to have to figure out the drill for doing those live on the scene, man on the scene reports.
Right. Right. Yep. All right. Well, we'll try it again. I love those robot competitions. I've been telling Marty about them for weeks now, and
sure.
They're huge. They're a big deal. So, how many kids? How many students?
She had quite a few there.
Yeah, quite a few there, but they've had a lot. And the woman who runs that show, she's we're going to have her as a guest as well. So
cool. Yeah,
we'll find out from her how many kids have gone through your program. 7,000. No.
Yeah. No, they do. The Air and Space Museum here, the Seattle Museum, just had an event 2 weeks ago that had, I don't know, 40 or 80 high school students working on a design competition. So yeah, they're everywhere. They're constant. and they add up into thousands and thousands of students.
got another guest candidate. He's a guy who he runs the incubator at UCF.
Oh yeah,
he's been running
he
it for
sent his
19 years.
I want to chat
And
with
they,
him
you know,
for
and
sure.
they have their, and they have all these numbers they put up there, like 300 companies and 1,000 funding things we did, you know. And
Right.
so I made a pitch for folks like us to come in and be guest lecturers at some of their programs, and he was way open to the idea. So we'll have him on.
Awesome.
And
Love
that's the gist of just the last day and a half.
Cool. Are you going back tomorrow? Or no?
I'm going back tomorrow.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Right.
Now we're running out of time, of course, as we always do. I knew this report would kind of be a time suck.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to read that thing again. Northwood Space secured a $100 million Series B and a $50 million Space Force contract almost the same day, I guess.
Right.
And it's just like, we just tick some more boxes off. We're just writing it down. The year is starting out fast. It's starting fast.
Yeah. Yeah. This puts us way north of $2 billion for the month.
Just about.
Yeah. And that's just the stuff that we're talking about on the show.
Yep.
There's transactions that are happening by the day that we're not getting to, but we're well over $2 billion that we're tracking.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely
just shows up.
Okay, I'm going to skip the last two. We can do them on Monday. Yeah, because it may end up being a news day on Monday anyway, because our guest has not confirmed for Monday, and so we'll see what happens over the weekend. You know, we got time. Okay, so let's go. Now we're going to skip over all this, and although it's tangential interest, it is a talk about policy, and one of our favorite space policy guys is with us from the Space Frontier Foundation, Aaron Oesterle.
Hey, Aaron.
How you doing, young man?
Hey.
I'm doing good. How are you gentlemen doing?
We're doing okay. We've had a great couple of days, and we're going to have a great one tomorrow, and all is well with the world.
Hope you're staying warmer than we are, because right now there's snow there's not any snow on the ground, there's ice on the ground, and I can walk across the snow and not sink down in it.
Oh, okay. Yo, I've had days. I remember days like that in Pennsylvania. But no, it gets cold at night. I think it's going to stay above freezing tonight, but we do have at least 3 nights in the coming week where it's going to get down to the 20s in Central Florida. We're bringing all our plants in the house. You know, we're surrounded by them now. We got to protect our plants, our outdoor plants. These are semi-tropical plants around the pool and everywhere. It's like, okay, come on, you know. Fortunately, the pool can protect itself, but these things, the plants, they have no chance unless we do something. Other than that, that's all we can do is just ride it out for a week, another week or so, and then we're good.
When I was at Jarhead in near Quantico, near Washington D.C., that's when I really learned to loathe the cold and snow and ice, because I wasn't high enough rank structure to let somebody else do it. I was the guy out there with a shovel after every single flake hit the ground. As a corporal, I'm like leading other people to shovel, but at the end of the day, I had to grab the damn shovel myself. So, so I don't miss Washington D.C. at all because of the cold.
I'm a native Floridian, and I was in the infantry in the army in Germany. Y'all can keep cold, and you can keep the snow. I'll visit, and that's it. I'm like Brer Rabbit. Put me back in my briar patch.
There you go.
Yep.
Me, I miss Vietnam by that much. So I'm not going there with you guys.
Right.
Aaron, let's start out. I know you've been here before. You've already given a long dissertation on your origin story and stuff. So very briefly, take like 1 minute, explain who you are, why you're doing what you do, what gets you up in the morning.
Sure. So for those who don't know me, I was we won't say failed engineer, but I was not a very good aerospace engineer. But I found graduated from college with an aerospace degree. found I was much better at the policy world. I went to work for Jim Muncie, for those who know him, and then got involved in the Space Frontier Foundation, and now do policy work. I'm doing my master's program right now at University of North Dakota with some and actually I should about one of the things we're looking at for my capstone is we're doing an L1 L2 facility that involves a space elevator. So I might be calling you, Michael.
Absolutely. We've got a lot on that topic, so happy to chat.
So let's lead into the thing I know you want to talk about. About a week and a half ago, I was there. You guys have been doing a series of basically town halls.
Yep.
For the advocates and other interested people at the foundation. You've been talking about policy a lot and talking about strategy a lot. How did you get the idea of even doing those? What was that about?
Well, we had somebody who was involved in the policy team, and she raised a stink because she didn't feel like doing very much, and we weren't communicating very well. And she ended up leaving, and I understand where she was coming from, and so it was suggested. One of the ideas that was suggested was what we need to do is we need to be communicating better, both as a tool to do outreach and telling people what we're doing, but also to bring people in and get more active policy people, because after a while it gets old with the same 4 people. So we started the town halls, and we did 3 of them. We're debating where to go from here, because we scheduled for 3 of them, and we're like, what do we want to do beyond that? We have some thoughts about how we're going to proceed forward, but we're not ready to discuss how we're going to go forward just yet. But it was kind of like what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're engaging and what the long-term strategy is. Because if the long-term strategy is space settlement in a big picture, there's a lot of things that need to happen to make it happen, to make that happen. And it's not going to happen because of one big swoop. It'll happen by a million pieces. So, to borrow a phrase from George H.W. Bush, 1,000 points of light.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun little thing. I hope to attend another one sometime. I know there's something. I know that's.
Are they open to the public? How do you get on that list?
They're not open to the public generally. Well, we kind of. It's not hard to get on the list. My suggestion is if you want to get on the list and be involved, email Sean Mahoney or myself through the foundation website, and we can put you on the list. There is a little bit of a process to attend it, because we want to make certain people actually are interested in attending, not just sign up and have get hit with a spam bot kind of a thing, because that just kind of ruins the event. So there's a little bit of a process, not overly complicated, but there is a process there.
All right.
Here's the thing. Did you guys start with the advocate list as a baseline and then kind of just expand out from there?
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of familiar faces.
It's an advocate list, and people who have a role in policy and have an interest in policy, and then we go from there. And it runs the gamut. We had Jeff Grayson as part of it last time. Mm-hmm. And we had all kinds of people sign up, so there's a good discussion there. Good.
Well, what was some of the outcomes from this last one?
So
we're on the subject.
The big thing that came out of it is greater interest in what we're doing right now. And one of the things we're doing is we're getting ready for March Storm. And I've mentioned this before on my previous times on here. We have a date for this year's March Storm, March 16th through the 18th. Please come out. And we're looking to integrate this year we're trying to integrate, because there's a lot of, everybody knows about the SpaceX IPO. It's going to be huge. And we're trying to see greater integration of financial tools, other industry development tools with the space community, because that's not very well understood. If you want, it's kind of, to a certain degree, space is in the little corner in the science committee, and if you want to do space, you go there. But there's there's a lot of tools out there that would be ideal to have access to. That it's basically like if you had space to what they're doing, it opens up a whole new realm. So that's kind of what one of the big things that's coming out is how do we do that? How do we engage on that on those topics? And that's one of the things we're doing for March Storm this year.
Okay, all right. How many people usually attend this thing, and what's the process of
for
the
March
whole?
or for the town?
Yeah,
March Storm we usually get 20 to 30 people. Excuse me. It's where Michael and I first met, actually.
Yeah.
And
20 years ago. We met 20 years ago.
yes,
Yeah.
it was-
You were just getting started, and yeah, a lot happened with you.
Anyway, but we get 20 to 30 people. It's not, you get a full day of training, and then you have 2 days on the hill where you're talking to the staffers.
Mhm.
The training is we have a former Senate staffer who comes in and talks to us, who you've had on the show before, Taylor Winkleman.
Okay.
She and we just do, it's kind of a training boot camp kind of a thing, because you have to learn to speak staffer lingo. And this year, as I said, we're looking for integrating these broader topics with the space community. So we have four goals this year. One is, I don't know how many people have done this. China, the Chinese government releases a white paper every 5 years, and there's one scheduled to come out sometime this year,
Mhm.
and it lays out their strategy for space. And the interesting about that is they're actually doing really good in terms of saying we're going to do this by this date and doing it. Only one of them off by a year. So one of the things we're pushing this year is we want a national declaration of we're going to space, and we're going to space to stay in a big way. And here's a list of things we want to see happen. Now, I want to stipulate, it's not to say that we want NASA to do it, or even government to do it. What we want is we want big things happen when we enable the private sector to do it, and we would like to see the private sector lead to enable the creation of a lunar base by 2035. I don't remember our exact numbers. We're still figuring them, but it lays out a series of things that we want to see happen. Like one of them is by 2040, we see a space-based solar power beaming down commercial power. We see space resources being actively sold on the market, and we see space industrialization happening in a way that actually, they're selling products. Bunch of things like that.
Down.
And it says, again, it's not saying NASA or the government to do this, but it says private industry, you need to do this, and government will support you in your activities. So we see that as our first step. Is kind of like a way to sit down and say, we're here for, the U.S. is here, and we're going to develop space too. It's not just going to be the Chinese. And we want to go, and the other side of this, we always want to say, it's not a matter of just meeting the Chinese expectations. We've got to beat the Chinese expectations, which means we've got to have bigger visions than them. Right. So that's that. The second thing we're doing is we're getting space out of the science committee.
That's good.
What we're enabling, what we're looking to do is, without crossing any jurisdictional lines, that gets really dicey real quick, as you can imagine. You don't want to make the powers that be too mad at you. What we want to do is we want to use the bullhorn of the science committee to go and say to other committees, you should be engaging on space topics as well as they relate to your committee. For example, there is a 2 years ago there was a hearing that the Natural Resources Committee did on space space mining and space resources that Greg Autry was at. We want to see that kind of interaction. There's a number of very detailed, very specific tools that I mentioned earlier, that I talked about earlier, where if you add the words and space, it becomes they can do active things. And so we're looking at that. So it would kind of be a spread out of industry policy for space to the various other committees to get them active on it. And then the third thing we're looking at is each department of each branch of the military, except the Space Force, has an operational energy office, and we want to get them an operational energy office for nuclear space power and space-based solar power and a few other.
Oh,
there's a lot of interest there, and we think there's enough interest internally and enough interest externally to make that happen.
Okay.
Make that happen. And the final thing is, as everybody knows, there's this discussion of we're going to build a lunar base somehow, somewhere, someday.
right.
I'll leave it. And what we want to see happen is any lunar base that's developed has to be commercial. We can finesse it. NASA can act as an anchor tenant, and that.
Sure.
But we want it to be commercial in nature. Now, how you do that is being internally debated right now within the March Storm community. But those are the four big things we want to see happen this year. And we're going to see. I mean, we already know that the House is looking at doing a NASA reauthorization bill. I have heard there's a desire to do a commercial space bill at some point. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because this year is an election year, and election years always are a jumble.
Right. And space doesn't really drive the constituent demands the way other things do. So we usually get pushed to the edges. I will point out, you mentioned that you and I met at March Storm. The year that we were there, I think it was 2005, was when the Rapid Capabilities Office was on our agenda. Those were the things that we were bringing around to the congressmen and senators. And lo and behold, we got a Rapid Capabilities Office. It went from a 2-person team, kind of ad hoc team, to a 15-person funded organization within not Space Force, but Air Force. And that eventually led to, parts of it eventually led to where we are now. And so that, the experience of having done that does give me a lot of confidence that if we push the energy element and show that the other forces have this energy element, we should have Space Force have an energy element. Like, that really does have some legs, and we should use that we should use our success in history as a compass point for where we go next. So I like that one particularly a lot. And power in space means power in space.
That is true. That is very true.
I wanted to mention, as part of all this, you do have an uphill battle, maybe more than you know, because today also, in addition to seeing all the fine Artemis II propaganda, there was another thing near the end of the day that basically said, remember, I don't know, from history, remember the Apollo applications program? That was their way to try to go beyond Apollo, like beyond meat, right? And go, okay, what else can we do with the stuff we just built? Well, they're doing it again. They're doing it again. They're also bringing up this idea of Artemis applications to help do development on the moon after we've gone there a couple of times, just to keep Artemis in business, I guess, for a longer period of time. And we all know it's too expensive. It's got to have a useful life, and then it's got to go. But they're already talking about this. And one of the things they included in their pitch was building their own base. And so if you're going to get going on this commercial stuff, you have to really amp it up now.
Yeah, that's why
we're already talking about this kind of stuff, and we need to shut that one down. I can't do anything about Gateway. Maybe we can do something about this.
Those are NASA folks talking about that?
Yep. They did a whole hour session on this stuff.
All right.
I believe it. I mean, it's interesting if you go in. they were looking at when they were first debating what became Gateway. One of the proposals was they called it Skylab 2, and it was basically a modified upper tank of an SLS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a bit surprised they're looking at that kind of thing. That said, I think that everybody's still trying to figure out what's going on with the lunar base, which is why we're trying to move fast on it, because we want it. And the other side of this point is there are people within Congress who I've heard them say, we don't want HUD on the moon. We have enough of that kind of thing going around. I've heard that phrase from staffers.
HUD on the
Yes.
moon. That is hard to imagine.
Oh.
But I'm thinking about kind of New York level projects with skyscrapers. I would take a skyscraper if HUD got involved and that's what their product was a skyscraper on the moon. I would do that. If then we have to commercialize it afterwards, like condoize it afterwards.
That's the key thing is we're figuring how to structure this in a way that it is not. We retain and actually use all the lessons we learned from the International Space Station, because we were never going to commercialize the ISS. I mean, part of it was we didn't realize what we were trying to do in space. But now that we've learned that you can do commerce in space, let's do commerce in space and develop it and do it properly. Mm-hmm. So that's the push. And I do think that there will be enough interest that we can make it happen. It's going to be dependent upon getting the right mix of, and I also think this year will prove interesting because of the SpaceX IPO. If you get $50 to $80 billion in capital flowing into the industry, which is what we're predicting, and you can double that or triple that with industry policy decisions that are through things like tax breaks or things like that. But that's the main thing.
Well, that incentive will probably even get Robert Bigelow out of hiding.
I hope so. Jason's writing up a bunch of stuff here. Can we talk a little bit about? Is there any movement on domain industrialization, ownership of assets?
So that has kind of resolved itself in the way that the Artemis Accords has been written. If you're looking at the issue of who actually owns what and what there's not an agreement about what a space object is, and that's or not space object, but heavenly bodies. Excuse me, that's the term of art. And so, does that cover everything from golf ball disc-sized asteroid to the moon?
Right.
And that's an open debate. I don't know. I doing my master's has given me some insight into all this, and it's an international problem. That said, we do have the situation whereby if you have a space, as my professor put it, if you have a space bucket and you pick up a rock and put it in your space bucket, you own that rock, and that will never change, because and you have that through the Commercial Space Launch Commercialization Act, I think is what it was. I'm drawing a blank now, but anyway, from 2015, the 2015 Commercial Space Bill. So that's there, and that's not going to change. Now, if you want to claim formal property rights on the moon, that's a bridge that may never happen. But if you put down a facility on the moon, you can permanent. To Jason's questions, permanent structures are allowed as far as anything that's permanent in space. So
Awesome.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, also Joe Prostrito makes a good point. He said a lot of the base infrastructure implies a hard to commercialize system. That infrastructure is designed by government, which doesn't have cost constraints or actually any kind of commercial use imperatives at all in what they're doing. They just design what works for them for this particular mission, and then whatever happens later is, oh well, you know.
So that's why we're pushing. Again, I go back. That's why we're looking at how do you make commercial from the get go? How do you create the equivalent of CLD before you have ISS, commercial LEO destinations program? What are your base principles? What are your strategic implications, et cetera, et cetera?
Okay.
Well, I think that's a terrific hope that we can, push that forward. How many people? You said you're looking at 20 or 30 people to join March Storm next.
That's what we're hoping for. It's I mean, I would love to have more than that. If I have more than that. But in terms of actually, but 20 to 30 is just the historical numbers we've had, and we can get a lot done with 20 to 30 people because we get a lot of offices. The staffers are, always eager to engage with us. Say one office, but we won't discuss that office.
Save for one. Morty, because of your show last year, Morty went to one of our members here. He went to the event last year.
Question. I would reach out to Macy. She was the coordinator, and she's still the coordinator for this year. You should have her email. If you don't, email me directly or go through the Space Frontier Foundation website, and we'll work with you. We'll figure out a way for you to be able to attend.
Cool.
Neat. Well, let's talk about other policy stuff. Just for a moment, we just had an executive order come down from on high a couple days ago. Well, I guess it's been a couple weeks now. Any thoughts on any of that?
So I'll give you the quick 411 of other policy things. One was you had the confirmation and you had the new NASA administrator formally get nominated, confirmed, and all that done. So he's now NASA administrator, and that was a good thing. There was almost a NASA reauth bill released during, or at least that's what we heard during in December, but got held up for reasons that are just internal politicking between various offices. And then the big thing, and then the other thing was the executive order, which you mentioned there, Michael, and that is, it's kind of a, as I understand it, and as I'm reviewing it and getting to know it much better, it's kind of a catch-all to try and put everything together in one place and figure out what's going to happen. Now, there's not a space council. There's not going to be a space council. It's clear, even though the law still lets for a space council. The president's not going to have one, apparently. There's some subset of, there's some lower level people that are interested in space, but some of the higher levels are not as interested in space, and that's part of the problem. So the real question is how much room does our new NASA administrator, does Jared Isaacman, have to implement some of these activities that he wants to have happen, in terms of whether you're talking about SLS off-ramp or those kind of things? Because there's all these reports that the EO asks for. Like one of them is, how do we get $50 billion of new investment from the Department of Commerce? And that's a good thing to ask. But
the
question I have, and I think the question that everybody should be asking right now is who's going to be there to make sure that when this report comes out, it's actually useful? Because I've heard from multiple staffers there's not it feels like there's not a fully vested place for to prevent siloing of various programs or offices or agencies and so on. And that's always, I mean, we know this well. We've lived it in terms of whether with siloing, in terms of whether whether you're talking about space at NASA or the FAA or wherever. So.
Okay. I was kind of, I had high hopes. Let's just say I don't see eye to eye with this administration on a lot of things, but their space policy, it was good the first time. It's good the second time. Definitely, I felt like Vice President Pence was way more interested in space than Vice President Vance is. So very different personalities in that role. And I hope our audience knows by now that space is the mandate of the vice president. And if you're not interested in it, nothing happens. And we didn't see anything happen under the Biden administration with Harris, and we're not seeing anything happen under Vance. But I hope that now that kind of that troubled waters of not having an administrator, and on the same day that they announced the administrator, they also announced the executive order, that I'm hoping things are, prioritized in this administration. That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping too. It's really dependent on how much room and runway they give Isaacson, because they may basically say, because I know this happened with other agencies, where they basically said, don't give out bad news, but otherwise do whatever you want.
Right.
So we will see if that happens with NASA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, during your March storm training, I just wanted to ask, just for a kick, during your March storm training, you said you also, you helped teach people how to basically translate what they say from plain English into bureaucrat staffer speak or something. You going to publish that into a book? Because I think it would be pretty funny.
Well, it's actually not. You have to remember, a lot of staffers are young. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy how much power they have. As children, they have power. It's crazy.
20-year-olds, and it's just like, oh my god.
Right.
Yeah. And so you've got to, but they have a portfolio of like 40 things or whatever it is, and so you've got to be speaking, to quote a friend of mine, you've got to be speaking in Barney the dinosaur language. You can't speak at an engineering level. You've got to speak Barney the dinosaur level.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Well, I remember visiting in New York when I lived there years and years ago. Paul Contursi and I went to see our congresswoman, or at least Paul's in his district, Carol Maloney. And she was a big name for a long time. She finally, they redistricted her right out of a job on this last census. And so, but we went to see her. We told her all about. We were repping the Mars Society at that point. It was a pretty new, outfit, and we're lobbying for certain kinds of things. We want to talk about this. We want to do policy that, which the one time I did that and did it probably poorly, but compared to you guys. But she told about that. We did our pitch. We sat and waited, and she sat down and she looks at us, very puzzled face. Said, "Haven't we already been to Mars?"
That doesn't surprise me.
You see,
20 years ago.
Yeah, but when you're talking about, you're complaining about the young'uns, they're in these staffer positions. I'm going, you should talk to their bosses. They may still talk like that today.
Well, okay. So I know we're short on time, but I have to share. For a long time, I don't remember who it was. It was either the head of the science committee or the CGS committee, in the appropriations committee. He was very interested in Europa, the possibility of life on Europa.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody gets up there and says, in essence, well, if what we need is to look for insects on a moon on Jupiter, then by God, we're going to look for insects in Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like Reverend Jim. Okie doke. You know.
You have to remember, Congress looks like, as I said before, Congress looks like the U.S. So all the good and all the bad.
Yep, that's it.
All the good and all
That's it. Party loves nuclear propulsion system. So that's great. Well, at that point, we didn't get to the 5:25, but we did get to the top of the hour. So we'll do it We'll do it next time. Aaron Oesterle, Space Frontier Foundation, policy wonk extraordinaire. Love having you. Let's do this again.
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay.
Maybe
see you in March.
Yeah, a couple months.
Yep. Okay, I just got the word during all this conversation from you, Sean, that we do have a guest for Monday. He's author Gary Gilbert. He just published a compilation, which I have right here. You can see it backwards.
Mhm.
It's called Space Girl. 21 women write about their careers on Earth in the space industry. And we're gonna help him sell books. I've gone through this. Oh, it's amazing. It's actually amazing what he's put together. And we're gonna be talking about it on Monday.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm pretty sure all the proceeds goes back to our alma mater, ISU.
Yeah, that could very well be true. He's been around a long time. He's just kind of showing his head again, after many years. And on that note, for Sean Key and Michael Lane, the news desk, Center for Space Commerce and Finance, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.
Toodles.